Okay, I'm not going to lie. There is one thing that I would say I'm most proud about in the work that I have done in autism spectrum, and that is getting children out of nappies, because I met so many parents of older children who had tried everything in the child's younger years and they hadn't been given the tools that neurodiverse children need. And I was very passionate about changing that, particularly having worked at an autism school that we use very different way of toilet training compared to neurodiverse children. And then over the last couple of weeks, I've had a lot of emails from parents who are like, I want to try toileting, or I've tried toileting, or my child's not interested. And it's like, no, they're just not going to be. Or I ask them and they don't say yes, so then they wet their pants. Yes, none of that works, because that is all designed for neurotypical children, not neurodiverse children. So I guess I'm just going, is the word proud? I don't know. But one of the things when I meet parents, like I did a couple of weeks ago in Caboolture, a beautiful mum who was like, I followed your tips for toileting, Sue. My daughter is now toilet trained. We're so excited. It took 11 months, a lot of persistence, but we saw signs early on. The poos took longer. I get it. I get all that. It's not easy. It takes time. But my question to you, if you're a parent or carer or even a teacher listening, if not now, when? Honestly, so many people are like, oh, well, they're not interested. Or no, this child will never be interested. If they're not interested now, when are they going to be interested? Like, I cannot get more emotional about this, because children being in nappies is such a barrier, not only to education now, because so many schools can't provide the support they need, but also for the child being in nappies for dignity. There's no reason this child needs to be in nappies, really. And you're like, oh, but Sue, I've tried. No. I get it. It's not easy. But I think it's not an age thing that's going to change for this child. We need to change the structure. This child has had a nappy on since the day they were born. That is their comfort. That is the only routine they know. So the first thing I want you to do is take the child with you to the toilet for a whole week. Take the child. Do they actually know what you go in there and do? Teachers, you can't do this, but parents and carers, you can. Take the child, or in early childhood, get them to go with all the other children, at least do the wash hand routine. Change it to be a routine. This child only knows wipes and nappies. So do they even know what toilet paper is? Like, start using toilet paper when you change their nappy. Like, really think of all the sensory. I always say, put yourself in a child's shoes. Imagine if since the day you were born you'd had a nappy on and you don't know what people mean when they're like, do you need the toilet? Are you using the language toilet? Are you using a sign for toilet? Are you taking the child in? Like, what do they really know about this toilet place? It could be a mystery. Their family might shut the door and go in there. They have no idea. So families, yes, you need to take your child both for ones and twos in there. Let them be part of the process. Let them desensitize. Don't sit them straight on the toilet. That is going to freak them out. This would be scary if you're used to being laid down, or you're used to going to a dark, quiet place to squat to do your poo. Spend a week observing the child. Look what their current routines are. Think about what your toilet's like. Is it a scary place? Do you need to go and visit Thomas and make it like a Thomas? I've had parents turn the toilet seat into a Thomas. I've had parents create a Barbie world. I've had parents create like a wonderful sensory experience for the child. I had one 10-year-old who his only real currency was his iPad. So we just put the iPad in a plastic sleeve. We took the iPad into the toilet. Once he was sitting on the toilet, gave him the iPad. He could play on it for 5 minutes. Well, 5 minutes is a long time to sit. Probably it wasn't 5 minutes. That might be an exaggeration, but it felt like a long time. And then we just throw the plastic sleeves away, wash his hands. And it probably took a good week of him doing that to desensitize to the whole bathroom experience. So put yourself in a child's shoes. Look what the barriers are. But there's a couple of things I need you to know. Most of my children will never be interested It's toilet timing. It's toilet routine. You are never going to ask them if they want the toilet, because a lot of people go, do you want the toilet? Yes or no? Some of my children will always say the first word you said. So they'll say yes. Some will always say the second word, no. This could be an aha moment for you. If you give a child on the spectrum 2 choices, do they always say the first or second word? Because then you get a meltdown or a tantrum, depending on the child, because they didn't really want that. It's just they didn't understand the choices and they just echoed the second thing. Their working memory was such that they remember the first or second thing you said. So you need to check they actually can communicate their needs. So we never start with yes or no. We're like, do you want barbecue shapes or a potato? And if you know the child hates potato and they say potato, you're like, oh, they don't understand what I'm saying. One of my little boys used to go, yes or no, yes or no. He thought that was like one word, like an utterance, like a one-word utterance. Okay, I hadn't intended talking for so long on this, but a few things. I met this amazing mum in Caboolture, as I said, and one of the things she did based on my recommendations that I want you all to understand, nappies are expensive. And a lot of you are spending a lot of money on nappies. Now, if you're getting nappies under your NDIS, I want you to change that to undies. I want you to go to Target or Kmart, wherever they're cheap, and just bulk buy them. I promise you they are going to be cheaper than nappies long term. And instead of cleaning the undies, don't send home pooey. No parent wants pooey undies. Chuck them in the bin. You chuck away nappies, which are probably more harmful to the environment than a cotton pair of undies, okay? So I think it's more important that we minimize the stress of toilet training. So let's just take the undies off, throw them in the bin, okay? So you're going to bulk buy undies. You are going to consider that, first of all, work out which undies the child likes, then bulk buy them, You're going to look at the sensory challenges for this child. You know, you're not looking for the child to be interested. They're just going to come with you into the toilet. Who is interested in the toilet? When's the last time you're like, hey guys, I'm off to the toilet? No, toilets aren't a very interesting place, but maybe you do need to make it more interesting. Maybe you do need to have a special Thomas in there. Maybe you need to have some sensory tools in there. Maybe you need a lava lamp or a beautiful liquid timer or some bubbles. One of my little girls, I used to blow bubbles. Maybe you need some songs on in there they love. Maybe it's whatever that child loves. Maybe make it interesting. Because no, they're not interested. You're right. And remember, most of my children struggle with interoception, which is that internal sensory, so they don't know they need the toilet till they're busting. So you need to understand they mightn't ever need the toilet. I'll say that again. They mightn't ever need the toilet. But you're going to make it a routine. You're going to take them every hour on the hour. You're going to take them before they leave the house. You're going to take them before they eat morning tea and lunch, because then they're going to wash their hands. They're going to go before they go to bed. All of these things. Okay. Now, nighttime toilet training, completely different. I've got a podcast on that. But the one thing I need you to know, it's no nappies. No nappies, those undies, remember? Because we need to change the routine to undies during the day. You can have a pull-up at night, don't have a problem with that, okay? And pull-ups are undies. So it's no undies, no nappies, toilet timing, not toilet training, and you're going to take them regularly, and you're going to not wait for the child to initiate. It's just going to be part of your routine. So when I worked in the autism school, as soon as they got off the bus, straight to the toilet. Before we had morning tea, wash hands, go to the toilet. Actually, when they used to come back into lunch, when I was teaching younger children after the breaks, because often when a child's been jumping on a trampoline or stimulating and doing things, they then are relaxed and they'll go to the toilet. So some of my children after play, and also washing their hands after play anyway, because I think the washing the hands is a really important part of that routine. So every time we go to wash our hands, we go to the toilet. So it becomes a little sort of routine before lunch, after play. So yeah, every hour before they get on the bus, so before they go home in the afternoon, and if your bus drivers are like, no, they're going to wet their pants, put a bluey on the seat, put a towel on the seat. Because do you know what happens if you put the nappy on them? Guaranteed they will wee and poo on the bus or in the car because they've held. If your child, and one of my parents who emailed me this week said that, oh, my daughter holds until we put the nappy on. That shows she's toilet trained, but just in a nappy, not in a toilet. Okay, so I'm going to put on an inspirational email now of a mum who toilet trained her twins. She's just the most amazing mum, and it's full of top tips and inspiration. So you don't just listen to me going on and on about this. Summertime is the best time for toilet timing, toilet training. I'll also link to the episode where a dad toilet trained his boy over summer. So I highly recommend you get some inspiration from other parents, but please, please do not listen to neurotypical parents. This is a completely different thing. So if your child has toilet trained well, good luck, well done, fantastic. Ignore this, turn it off now. But if you've struggled, tried lots of things people have recommended, this podcast is for you. I am here for you anytime. If you need help, please email me. I have a whole book I wrote with a mum, tips for toileting. I am passionate, as I say, that all our children are out of nappies. It's, I don't know if pride is the word, but in some ways it is, that every time I meet a family that have toilet trained their child, I think I'm proud of that family. I'm proud of the child. And I'm excited about the opportunities that will open up for that child because they are out of nappies. And I think for dignity for that child, we need to remember that actually we need to, where possible, have children out of nappies. Let's rule out any medical conditions, but where possible, my passion is that all children are toilet timed, not toilet trained. Okay, best of luck. Hi everyone, welcome to the Sue Larkey podcast. As I always say, you have to embrace difference to make a difference. Let's dive into today's podcast. Welcome everybody. I am so excited today. I have Tina joining us, who is going to share her toilet training journey with her child. And I'm so excited that she has kindly offered to share with all of us how it went. So welcome, Tina.
Hello, thank you.
So I'm so excited. So tell me a little bit. How old's your child? Tell me a little about them.
Okay, twins, girl, boy, both ASD level 2, turning 5 at the end of June. Last year we did an early intervention program. This year they're in preschool and next year to kindy. Chalk and cheese, do everything different, eat everything different and play different. My son started being toileted while he was at early intervention last year, which was a big help. Only for number ones, he'd come home because it was only a couple of hours, 3 mornings a week, come home, ask for the nappy to do his number 2. Because I was always time poor and I had 2 on the go, it's like, okay, here's your nappy, there you go. And then that's how we just did the year. She was in nappies all the time and, we're like, this is ridiculous. I'm getting a bit worried now. We need to do more. And it wasn't really until the end of the year that I spoke to a social worker at the Sydney Children's Hospital where they were both diagnosed. And she was saying to me, look, Tina, really try hard now because it can make a difference between being in a supported class or going into a mainstream classroom. And then it just hit me. I thought, oh my God, I need to do something. And why did I wait for them to be of this age? Life is so fast. And
it is so fast, Tina. And look, I get teary because I just want to say that message because a lot of parents don't hear that. You were lucky someone was an advocate for your child because I meet parents who no one said, hey, you need to do something and get it, if you want your child to be in a mainstream school, the nappies can be a barrier and it can be a dignity issue too. And there's honestly, in my experience, there's no reason we can't get them out of nappies. It's really just like seeing it's important, prioritizing it and going, something has to change here.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, we kind of went through Christmas and that we had some orientation at the new preschool, and they asked about the toileting. I said, look, she's still in nappies. I said, but we will definitely work on it. They said, oh, if you could, that would be great. We'll obviously help here. We'll model what you're doing at home. And that's when one day I came across one of your emails about toilet timing, and I read it and I wrote back to you and I went, oh, my God, I need help. I've got a 4.5-year-old and I'm really worried about, not toileting. And that's when you wrote to me. Then I bought this life-saving Bible.
So Tina is holding up the Tips for Toileting book that I wrote with Jo Atkins, who's a parent as well.
It was great because at one stage we were using the visual aids, the PECs, for certain things, just to go to school activities, go to the park, play. But for toilet, it just had toilet, whereas the PECs, the pictures in this book, had the breakdown of the toilet. Go to the toilet, pull down your pants, pull down your underpants, sit on the toilet, and that was great. So then I had some sheets made up. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, can you send a photo of that to me to put with the podcast so people can see it?
Yeah, sure.
That would be amazing. So they're the pictures from the book, basically, that they've made.
So I said to my husband, can you run them off and get them laminated? And because I've just bought this. It was just a download from an internet page I had purchased from this person before for teeth brushing, and I thought, I said, can you make me up a toileting one? At the time, the flavour of the month there was Peppa Pig, so I said, just put a few Peppa Pig pictures on there, and we would set the timer on the wall oven. And at one stage, it was just about hourly, and it got a bit too much. I think she's starting to get a little bit distressed. It's like, but I don't need to go. I didn't need to go. Like, I wasn't really following her cues. We were just kind of doing it. It's like, okay, then every couple of hours.
Brilliant.
And it worked out better. So all the time she would hear the timer go off on the wall oven, she'd go, oh, toilet time. So we'd all go off to the toilet.
I love it.
And she would pull down the pictures and put them onto the finish grid. It was good. She was getting involved with it. It worked out really well. And anyway, then after a while, and then I made a copy for the school when we started at the preschool in February. I said, this is a copy for you. This is what I'm using at home. I think they only used it 2 or 3 times, and she they just went with her. They asked her every couple of hours if she needed to go. So we started preschool on the 7th of February, and to date, 24th of March, no accidents.
And can I just interrupt for a minute, Tina? You're not giving yourself enough credit here, girlfriend. You emailed me once a week with updates. You were constantly asking questions, trying. So I know that, like, that hourly, she started to get frustrated. But I think you emailed me in there going, hey, what should I do? You were so open to trying different things because, as you know, with your 2 children, they're very different, and all children toilet train differently. But the big thing is trying to work out that timing. What I'm impressed with, your daughter quickly knew she needed to go or didn't need to go. That isn't common with all of my kids. Like, some will never actually know they need to go. It's just a routine. And especially, like, I had a class of 8 nonverbal kids. It was just routine, like toilet, wash hands, eat lunch. Like, it wasn't like, do you need to go? We'd just take them every hour and a half. And if they didn't need to go, they didn't go, but there was a routine around it. It wasn't waiting for them to initiate it. So, but it's so impressive your daughter knew and quickly indicated. Yeah. But the other thing that you did, and I think people forget, that actually making the exactly same visual to go to preschool, that transferring the skill using exactly the same system gave her that familiarity and, routine around it. And then the preschool knew what the expectation was too. I love that.
Yeah, and on the app that we have with the school now, in the mornings, send the teacher a quick message. Hi, she did about 6 o'clock. Can you just try her around 9? She tends to go like every 2 to 3 hours now, if that, about every 3 hours, which, hey, that's fine. I mean, we don't go every hour ourselves, so I suppose.
No. 3 hours is good.
Yeah.
Boys tend to wee more often. And because, so how often would your son go?
Oh, he goes 4 or 5 times during the day, just at least. And he goes. He just takes himself. It's like, where is he? And then you hear it flush. Oh, he's already been. He takes himself for number 1s, number 2s. But I've got to slow him down. He's just very, very fast, where he'll probably get later down the track a diagnosis of ADHD, but he's just very flighty. He's like, hang on, go back there. Have you washed your hands? Have you wiped? What have you done, But he's always been very independent. I do it. I'm hamstressed.
Oh, bless. That is so cute. That is so cute.
So my biggest win now is in the last 3 days, not yesterday, the day before. The teacher said that my daughter went to her and said, can I go to the toilet, please? I need to do a wee.
No. This is such a big win.
I went, oh, my God. I told everyone I knew. I said, oh, my God.
It is so exciting. And you do have to celebrate. This is what I know with the toilet training. It's a big commitment, and it's actually exhausting, as you're saying. It's a big commitment, and it's exhausting. So you have to celebrate the wins. And my big advice, and I don't know if you read it in the book, is take the money you're spending on nappies, the $50 a week, and use that to get takeaway or, get your nails done or reward yourself. Yeah. I think parents forget to reward themselves. We're very good at rewarding our children, but we have to reward ourselves too. And I think that it's just, especially when you're making that commitment, like just use that money to do something, but sharing with your friends, and that's what I like. Just share, like celebrate those successes, because it's a huge success.
with my close network of people that have been there and that have helped me to toilet her, like her former teachers and support people, because they too know how much we've all put into this.
And it takes the community.
It's just as big as win for them as it is for me, because I really, really value all the help that they've been, even at the different preschool last year. They were wonderful.
But Tina, what I like, and it's what I've loved you sharing and emailing me, is we do, like, everyone does want to help if you offer them that opportunity to share. And you've obviously got some people in your community, and particularly with twins, you need your backup team and people on board to help you. You can't do it all. And I think even getting your husband to do the laminate, I think so many of us take everything on ourselves. Like, you sound very good at going, hey, can you laminate this and put some Peppa Pig on it? And can you do this? And I think when you just need to focus on the toileting. Now, how did the poos go? Because I seem to remember that took a bit longer.
Yeah, the poos are getting there, but now she doesn't want to go every day like she used to go. She is on Parachoc in the morning, and she used to go pretty much every day in the nappy. But now it's like she'll go. She's actually been a good 5-6 times on the toilet. She has done the poo, but it's like, come on, you're day 3 on. Okay, but I'm writing on the diary. No poo today, because I've been diarising everything. So yesterday, or the day before yesterday, the day before yesterday, she went. And I said, oh, thank God. It would have been like day 4 or day 5.
Yeah. And I think in the book, Jo tells that story. Her son Joshua would hold for 7 days, and she found keeping track of it too, because sometimes his behaviour went off if he held for too long. So, and I agree, getting some sort of Parachoc or something to help them soften it, because if they hold, it then becomes painful and then a sensory sort of issue.
Yeah, sensory, and then psychological. They're too scared to go.
Correct.
So this morning I also gave her a little squirt of Actilax, as I do to my son. He's got low iron, and so to give him a supplement then reverses him from going to the toilet. Like, he becomes constipated.
Yeah.
So I've got little battles going on here. But, look, she's going. And she did say to my husband even a week or 2 ago, Daddy, I've got to do a poo, which was really great. It's great.
So that's so good. So she let him know when she needed to do a poo. So she does know when it's happening. That's so good.
And yesterday, one more time at the school, they said, the teacher said, Annalisa came up to me and said, I've got to do a wee. And she goes, okay, well, then go. And she actually went to go and watch her to make sure that she did do the wee, and she did. And she did the wee, and she wiped, and she pulled up her pants.
Yeah, I
So,
love it.
that's where we're at. So
Okay.
I'm really relieved. I'm relieved for them. My concern about the worry about school next year. So that's good. I do still have the nighttime to look at, but every night before we go to bed, I say to her, let's go and do the good night wee. So we go to the toilet, the good night wee, and I put on her night pull-up. And in the morning, poor thing, she's still half asleep. Okay, come on, let's go do a wee. So I put her on the toilet as early as 6 o'clock, whatever time we wake up, and she does a wee. And generally 9 times out of 10, she has a dry nappy.
Well, that's
So
amazing. Because
I think
is
that
she
would be
4
a
or
big
5?
help. Sorry?
How old is she now?
She will be 5 at the end of June.
No, 5 being dry in the morning is fantastic. I think that's a big win.
She's not a big drinker. She doesn't drink milk at night. She's not a milk baby. She doesn't like milk. My son will have milk. He wakes up, he's got a full nappy. So with him, I believe we're going to have to. I got him to do a night before he went to bed, and then he woke up at 5. He's our early riser in the house. I didn't see what he was like because my husband already changed him. But I think we need to toilet him during the night.
And I think I mentioned in one of my emails, I've got a good podcast on nighttime toilet training, but he's only 5. I wouldn't be too stressed about that. Just developmentally, I find with the boys often 6, 7, and you're doing all the right things, like doing the wee before bed. But if you think he's got ADHD as well, which the 5 o'clock wake up, all those things would say to me, I'm not a psychologist, but my experience says, hey, I'd agree with you. I always agree, parents' gut feel that he might, if you look on that podcast, some parents use a spray and a few different things, just like you're using the supplements for the poo. There's some things you can do to help him actually hold a bit longer that help with the nighttime. Yeah, that parents say work.
And we've been going swimming on the weekends. He actually gets out of the water and says, Daddy, I need to go and do a wee.
Oh, bless.
So, he's wet and all. I thought, wow, that's great. That's
so good. But the other thing, and I think I might have said this to you in an email, that it's really just talking to the kids about it. Instead of making it a secret thing you go off and do, that you be a bit more verbal. I need a wee. So they start to hear that language, and I need a poo. And you talking to other people about they hear that. They hear the conversation around it. Whereas
they're little sponges, they absorb
They
everything.
are, absolutely. So having that visual there, all those things help reinforce to them, this is something we all do. And then it just becomes part of, just like I need something to eat, I need to do a wee. It's just actually taking it on. I love it. I love it. I love it. So if a parent was listening
I'm just relieved. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm relieved for you. And you've been amazing with all your documenting. So if a parent was listening who's maybe got a 4 or 5-year-old who's feeling a little bit daunted, what would you say to them? If you were sitting down with them, what would you say? Look,
really, you need to be patient because, if you become distressed in yourself and it shows and, they feel it, you need to just talk to them calmly about it. Sometimes we play little songs about going to the toilet. A big help for me was that app, the YouTube clip. It was Tom's Toilet Time.
Yeah, Tommy's Toilet Time. Everyone says that's great.
Yeah, and so they loved it. We'd sit on the toilet and watch it for ages at first too, and they used to giggle when little poo used to come out at the end, the little plop and that. But as then my daughter would almost be reciting it for a while. Obviously, it's gone over their head now, but And one day I actually filmed her face, not her lower part, but she was doing a wee. I said, "Oh my goodness, you're doing a wee!"
Yeah,
and she plays that back every so often. She goes through to my phone to find the recording.
I mean, I have done that when I worked at the autism school. We would not for private, but video them walking in, like the washing the hands, going to the toilet, the moving the visuals across, and then the child can replay it, because so many of our children actually love that repetition, but actually seeing themselves do it. Them seeing themselves is very reinforcing compared to someone they don't know. Yeah, I love that.
Gives them the affirmation that that they can do it.
Yeah. That's the biggest, believing they can do it. And like you said, just going, basically, I don't want them in nappies. I've had enough. It's hard, but I've had enough of that. It's a relief to be out. Yeah.
Well, that's right. And just, that they're going to school next year, they can, hopefully sit in the regular classroom and they can just go to the toilet like all the other children.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever asked you, had you tried toileting them before?
Yes, we did much earlier in the year, and no interest at all. Absolutely none. I would sit there for ages and ages, and my husband, say, they're sitting down for too long. This was mainly my daughter, because my son got it earlier in the year at the early intervention school.
Yeah.
But she wasn't ready. She just wasn't ready. Looking back at it now, she wasn't ready.
And I'll often say that to parents, like, give it a go. 6 months later, give it another go. And that's sort of what I'm saying with the nighttime. Like, keep every 6 months, have another little go at it. But your daughter's nappy being empty tells me she's probably closer than a heavy full nappy in the morning with your son. I'd say he needs a bit more time. So that's normally.
I just not give him his milk before, any time after 6 p.m. or something like that. So
yeah, but that's hard because then you can impact on their sleep. And for an ADHD kid, their sleep's pretty important. So it's a catch-22 because you need him to go to sleep. And I know for many parents, and that's why I always say, don't worry about the nighttime at first. Just get the daytime sorted. Nighttime's fine. It's nighttime nappy doesn't impact on educational choices, doesn't impact on their dignity. Really for some of my kids, it's more school camp, that if I know they've got a school camp coming up in, not till year 4, that I might go, okay, it's time, because I want them to go on camp and they don't want to have a pull up on camp, and sometimes they're old enough then too to get it that their friends don't wear pull ups to bed. So, and getting them aware of that. So, I think I would give it a little bit longer. But again, I'd keep revisiting and keeping an eye on it. But I wouldn't stop the milk quite yet because, and if you woke your son up in the night to do a wee, which some people do, he wouldn't go back to sleep is my experience. So because ADHD kids are either asleep or awake. There's not sort of an in between. Whereas your daughter, you probably could get up if you know.
Yeah.
So
anyway, so that was a big win. During the day they're fine, and we'll slowly get there with the night one.
I love it. Well, Tina, thank you so much. I said this would be like sitting down for a cuppa, and I just can't thank you enough for sharing, because I know this is going to inspire lots of parents to have a go, and even preschool educators to have the conversation. How important it was that someone said to you, hey, you need to give it a go. And I'm very grateful you've let me share the journey with you.
I'm thankful for you too. This book really helped me in the end. It really gave me a lot of tips.
And I think it's autism tips. It's tips from myself as a teacher and Joe as a parent, which you don't get on a lot of the neurotypical stuff. So I'm so glad. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
You're a superstar. And of course, I'm always here if you've got anything you need help with along the way, especially starting school. That's going to be your next.
Yes, we've got that. We've got eating issues, and we've got a few things happening, but baby steps. And I always say just take on one thing at a time. You've got the toileting now. Next thing might be the eating. Make sure you listen to the podcast with a dietitian on picky eating. Okay.
It's amazing. She's a dietitian. Her mum's an OT.
Okay.
I literally learned so much. And I've worked with a lot of OTs, but with food, but her ideas were amazing. As far as just, you have to remember children start off playing with food. They don't when they're little, but because they're 4, sometimes they need to go back just to experiencing the texture and the smell. And so, it's a bit like the toileting. You've got to go, oh, do I want a big mess everywhere? But really you do if you want to progress to them putting it in their mouth. Yeah. So
I will.
Make sure you have a listen to that, and love to help you. And we can have you back and you can share how that went.
I will. I'd love to.
Oh, well, you're an absolute superstar. I know this is your window when they're at preschool and you've probably got 1,000 things you want to do. But huge thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
You make me teary. You're an amazing mum and superstar.
You. Appreciate that.
Thanks so much.
Good luck, everyone.
I hope you found that interview, a conversation and chat with Tina so motivational. Her amazing tips and also sharing how different it was for her son and daughter, just incredible. I thought rather than sending you to the podcast now on tips for toilet training or toilet timing, it would be easier just to link straight into episode 91 for those of you who are interested. Now, it's funny. I was just looking back at a few emails from Tina and how early on she was like worried. Please remember the children will pick up on your anxiety. And I highly recommend for the first week, you just take the children to the toilet with you every time you go. So often they have no idea what you're doing in there. So just get them to go to the toilet, have a look at the lovely visual that Tina created, get the children to actually work the visual with you, get them to flush the toilet, put the toilet paper down. Some children have sensory sensitivity to toilet paper, so don't move from wipes to toilet paper, or maybe start using toilet paper when you change their nappies. But really do the sensory things first, the flushing the toilet, washing the hands, the routine. Start talking about it. I'm doing a wee, I'm doing a poo. This is a whole new world to them. A lot of them haven't been into the bathroom with you. Now, if your children have already been going into the bathroom and inquisitive, don't worry. But neurotypical children normally follow parents into the bathroom, know all the routine, follow their siblings in. So remember, the first step's actually getting them to go in a model, getting the idea of pants down. Don't do the into the toilet and make it all too stressful too early. So best of luck. Don't forget to email me if you have any problems, challenges, concerns. My absolute passion is we get all the kids out of nappies. By 4 would be ideal, but as Tina was saying, starting school is vital just to give a range of options educationally. So best of luck. You've got this, and I really hope you enjoyed listening to Tina. Whether you don't even need to toilet train a child, just hearing about a parent's success along the way is truly inspirational. Hello, everybody. One of my absolute passion is getting children with autism spectrum out of nappies. Do you know kids who haven't toilet trained like their peers who are still in nappies? Getting kids out of nappies can be really hard, particularly if you follow traditional neurotypical techniques. One of the things that I am very passionate about and probably really proud of actually is how many families I have helped get kids out of nappies who have tried so many things before they reach out to me or get my book Tips for Toileting that I wrote with a parent, Joe Atkins. I just really believe if nothing else you do or take away from my podcast, if you know a kid in nappies, can you please share this podcast with those families? Or carers. And if you have a kid in nappies and you're struggling, I highly recommend you stay tuned and listen for the next 20 minutes to some tips and strategies that can make a huge difference to you and your kids. See, toilet training's hard for all kids. As you always hear me say, my 3 kids are really different. Well, they toilet trained really differently too. And the thing is, it's not overnight that kids toilet train, and it does take time, but summer is on the way, and this is a perfect time to toilet train kids. I mean, warmer weather, it's just easier. It's a great thing for families to do over the summer break, particularly if you're home and having a staycation this year. Great opportunity to actually work on toilet training. And it really is about toilet timing, not toilet training for kids on the autism spectrum. When I worked at an autism school, I learned amazing strategies for helping children get out of nappies. But what we know, the earlier you can do it, the better. So I recommend if you have a 3-year-old or above, give it a go. If you see absolutely no signs, that's okay. Not every strategy works for everybody. Leave it for another 6 months and then try again. So how do you know if they're ready? Well, if you look in my Tips for Toileting book, I'll go into it in quite a lot of depth. But the first few things I'd say is that, you know, you can actually get them to sit, because I believe you should just move them straight to a toilet. Don't do a potty, move them straight onto the toilet. Can they sit? I would be getting them to follow, if they will follow you into the toilet and do the whole routine with you. And that's really the first step. Start bringing them in to the bathroom with you. And this is really why families have to be strongly involved in this. Take them in for the whole routine, get them to flush the toilet for you, get them to hand you the toilet paper, get them to wash their hands before they even sit on the toilet. The reason I encourage you to do that is you'll start to notice any sensory issues. So you can, before you're actually getting the child to do the toileting routine, they're getting used to the noises and the touch, because they might have had wipes before and now you're using toilet paper. And in fact, I'd encourage you to move to toilet paper, not wipes, when you're cleaning their nappies, so they start to get ready for the feel of toilet paper. Now, some of my kids will stay on toilet wipes or something moist like that. They prefer it than toilet paper, but it's worth trying and thinking about, well, what are the new things they'll need to get used to when they go to use the bathroom? So getting them to wash their hands after every time you change a nappy, getting them to flush the toilet. Some children love the toilet spray, some hate it. Some children can't stand the sound of a hairdryer or hand dryer, so getting them used to that. And if you're in a preschool setting, often the preschools have a whole lot of toilets near each other. Well, some of my children, you're best to let them go on their own, not when there's lots of children in there chattering and flushing and making lots of noise. It can be quite a noisy place, those little preschool bathrooms. So really starting to think about all the sensory, because I think you have to address the sensory before you start the toileting often. So just think, okay, what are the sensory things that they need to know? So take them with you, get them doing the routine. Don't make a big fuss about it and just use the right language. Like, I need to go to the toilet, not number ones, number twos, like different people use different words, but just make sure you're consistent across your family. But my guess is the school will be using the word toilet. So I would just use the word toilet. I'm going to the toilet, come with me, and just start to include them in that. Sometimes with older kids that have had bad experiences with toilets in the past, I have to make it a little bit more fun. So I had one girl many years ago that we had a special My Little Pony in the toilet that she loved. I think its name was Philomena or one name like that. I've forgotten. A lot of the My Little Ponies have unusual names. So cute. Anyway, so we'd be, I'm going to the toilet and to see Philomena. So the My Little Pony sort of distracted. And if you think about how people with autism spectrum tell us that they use their special interests or things they like to stim on to calm, so we were using something that helped calm her as part of that. I've had parents decorate their toilet seat as Thomas the Tank Engine. I've had parents buy a special like Gordon. Gordon needs to go to the toilet, and we take Gordon in and then the child. So you have to be creative. If you've got a child who's already a little bit anxious or worried about going to the toilet, you need to be creative what you're going to do. I mean, I've had parents paint the toilet kids' favorite colors. I've had parents put up a frieze around the bathroom. There's so many things you can do to make the bathroom a really nice place. But I think often the kids just haven't really been in there, particularly if it's just a single toilet. But if it's in your general bathroom, obviously they're more desensitized. So start with that. Start to really put yourself in the child's shoes and think, okay, what are the sensory things when I take them in? What things are they worried about? Can I change it? What could I do to make it a more pleasant experience? What could I do to make it more exciting? And dare I say, parents, you need to talk about wheeze and poos. You need to talk about it, because otherwise the child has no idea what they're meant to do. They'll just sit on the toilet and get off, whereas you actually need to teach them. Then how are they going to learn if you don't show them and explain what's going on? So sorry to freak you out. I hope none of you are eating your lunch while we do this one. I probably should have put a little pre-warning before we got into this, but I really do think we need to focus on this. So those of you who have my early years books, I highly recommend you have a look at page 83, 84, 85. There's some fantastic information in there about what to put under their feet, a fantastic toilet step that a school made for their students. I have got lots of really good ideas in that book, but really it's making sure the child's ready, trying to work out those things I just said, using the adult toilet. Don't start with a potty. Just go straight to the toilet. Otherwise, you're going to retrain them to go to the toilet. So, retrain them to go to the toilet if you start on a potty. So just move straight to the toilet. Think toilet timing, not toilet training. Most children with autism spectrum have a thing called interoception, which is where they actually don't know they need the toilet until they're busting. And you'll have kids who wet themselves and don't notice that either. And I have other children who hate being wet. So remember, every child is different. But with interoception, many of my kids do not know they need the toilet, but nor do they know how to release everything in their bladder. Can you imagine if you don't know you're full, how are you going to know when you're empty? So what you need to do is take the child regularly at toilet times. And I would start with every half an hour. But if that sounds too hard for you, start with every hour. But you need to make sure they empty their bladder and their bowel, if that's what you're doing, because they don't know that whether it's empty or not. And you're going, well, Sue, how do I make sure? Well, make them sit, make them blow. If you do a blowing activity, I don't know if you can hear that, but blowing. So you can get bubbles if they like bubbles, or remember those little windmills you used to get at the show, of getting them to blow that, or just singing a song that includes some, because when you're singing, you're emptying your lungs and you're singing, blowing through a straw, anything. But singing, I find, relaxes the child. And often when they're sitting there singing Twinkle, Twinkle, well, hopefully Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Wheeze will be coming out too. But keeping them on the toilet and then trying to get them to push, because you actually have to push out your wee. Then the next trick is actually to get their feet, to move their feet up and down. So I would recommend you do like everybody clapping, 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 and then get everybody move your feet, because actually moving your feet up and down can help empty your bladder. Try it out, please. Have a sit on the toilet and have a try. But if you really think what you need to do to empty their bladder, and with their bowels the same, a lot of them have a thing called sneaky poo, where they hold their poo and only a tiny bit of poo comes out. And a lot of them hold their wees too. So they'll get that first bit of wee, but they've only got the top part of the bladder. We need to empty the bladder. And you'll know they haven't emptied their bladder because they'll get straight off the toilet and 2 seconds later wet their pants. Now, it is a pain, I know, to record, but I highly recommend that at least for a week, record when they do a wee, when they do a poo, whether they had an accident in that hour, because it'll save you actually long-term a lot of stress, because you'll go, oh, wow, we took them, but within half an hour, they did another little wee. That tells us they didn't empty their bladder, because obviously they didn't empty their bladder if they've had an accident. I've got kids who can hold for 6 hours, by the way, or 7, all day at school and wait till the nappy's put on. So that tells you they are toilet trained, but they're toilet trained for a nappy. Now, some of those children, we need to be a little bit more creative, and we might have to cut a hole in the nappy and get them to sit on the toilet. Please remember, these kids have had nappies on for so long. It's a big change. Some of my kids don't like the feel of undies. I would get them like the little sports shorts instead, or boxers. And anyone going, oh, Sue, it's messy. Nappies are messy. What are you thinking? Cleaning up poos in a nappy is disgusting too. But how much are you spending on nappies a week? This is my big thing. I want every parent to write down, how much are you actually spending on nappies a week? $25? More? You're going, no, more than that. Well, let's pretend it's $25. How about you take that money and put it towards just going to Kmart, Target and buying cheap undies and just chucking the undies out like you do the nappies. They're not actually environmentally any worse, I don't think, throwing out a pair of undies compared to throwing out all the nappies with all the landfill. So with a poo, just throw them away. Wees are easy to wash. So I get if you don't want to clean the poos up out of the undies. I completely get it. But the other thing I would love parents is, okay, why don't you treat yourself with that $25? How about instead of putting that $25 back into your family budget, you use that to take away one week night, or I don't know, get something fun as a family, because taking on toilet training can be exhausting. You've got to be on it every hour. But imagine rewarding yourself, because I think often with toilet training, we need to reward ourselves. And it's very important you reward yourself. So you might normally get yourself a takeaway coffee. Why don't you go and do that? Or buy yourself lunch or some sushi or something. It doesn't have to be big, but just something to give yourself a pat on the back for taking this on. So I highly recommend you do that. Now, this bit you need to brace yourself for. No more nappies. If you put one nappy on this child, you're going to undo all your hard work. Now, I don't mean for nighttime. You can listen to my nighttime tips. I've done a podcast on that. And on my Facebook page, I regularly ask families for any new strategies for night times, like recently a new nasal spray came out and so forth. But please, no more nappies. It is the most important part. It's toilet timing and no more nappies. I have children who you put the nappy on and you undo all the good work. So just undies, no nappies, absolutely put them on at night time. But as soon as they wake up in the morning, nappy off, straight on the toilet. As soon as they wake up. I know they'll be cranky about it, but otherwise they're going to we just got to start a new routine. We've got to start a new routine with undies. So that will be a tricky one, but straight to the toilet in the morning. Think of yourself. Most of you would go to the toilet as soon as you wake up. So straight to the toilet. The other thing with toileting, just be really positive all the time. Accidents happen. It doesn't matter. All children have accidents. Lots of children I've taught kindies and year ones or preps and years, they still have accidents. It's not a big deal. Don't make a big fuss of it. Just like, oh dear, not to worry, but then take them to the bathroom to clean up, get them to sit straight on the toilet, get them to wipe, just put on the clean undies and shorts or whatever they like to wear. But just remember, don't be negative about it. Just be prepared. Have those spare undies around and spare clothes for them. Some children don't get distressed at all, but some do. So just be aware of that sensitivity as well. And again, just think about all the sensory around what sort of undies, what sort of shorts. Some children don't like toilet paper, as I said. You might need to think about whether you use tissues, wipes. Some children don't like the smell, so think about what smell and be aware of the sensory. The other sensory one a lot of my children don't like is their feet off the ground. So you might need to, don't put a wobbly plastic stool. I've found over the years the ones you buy at the shops, those plastic stools the kids don't like. Often if you can find a wooden, something like a heavy old wooden stool or something more solid, like we used to use phone books, for example, but you can't get them anymore. But even like go to the Vinnies or somewhere, they sell old books. Just get some big old books to put under their feet because I sometimes find they just don't like those wobbly seats. Now, if you have a child who likes to poo in their nappy, who goes and squats under a table, a lot of my children like to squat to poo. So we need to get them used to sitting to poo. So that's what can be really hard. And that's why I'd say put the nappy on and put a hole in it. And so they get used to that. But a part of the problem will be they're used to squatting. Now, I have children who like to squat on the toilet to do wees and poos. That's okay. At least they're doing it in the toilet. I have other children who will wait for you to put on that nappy and then do the poos. So be aware for those children, it might be that they're used to going into a dark spot. Well, let's not have the lights on in the bathroom. Can we put some blinds down? If they're used to going to a dark spot, how can we simulate that? If they're used to squatting, putting their legs up high, really high, so the poo just slips out, or which is what happens when you squat compared to just sitting on the toilet. Or you might find, I know over the years I've had parents who say, well, when they have a bath, they relax and then I sit them on the toilet to do their poo. That works. If you've got a child who's constipated, obviously please go to a doctor and consult a doctor on that. But many of my children are constipated because they hold and then they just let out this little poo called a sneaky poo, and you will need to clear their bowels to get on top of the toilet training. The other problem is if you've got a big constipated gut, then obviously you're going to wee more because your stomach's sore and that's the poo's putting pressure, your bowel's putting pressure on your bladder. So it is important. Most people do, go to the toilet once or twice a day to do a poo. If your child's only letting out a little poo once or twice a day or more, then I'd be going and talking to a doctor about what they recommend to clear the constipation. I don't have any set answers for that. Again, there's often lots of new things coming out and nothing in particular. So I'm just looking in my early years book and making sure I have covered everything. if you want a fabulous book that will give you every tip, visuals, everything you need, I highly recommend my book, Tips for Toileting. It is just a little book, but we have trained so many children using that book. I've had every week I would get an email from a parent saying, oh my goodness, Sue, I tried everything until I read your book. It's just been a game changer. If you buy that book, Joe Atkins and I, and you're using the book, we are happy to help you with any struggles you're having. We are always thrilled to hear from people about their progress. But here's the thing. Thank you for listening for the last 20 minutes. But what I want you to know is this. Most people get success within a week. It's amazing. The child will be in the toilet within a week. That is what I call success. If you do no nappies and toilet timing. But what a lot of people do, they just can't help but put the nappy on. Oh, she needs to go in the car. No, put towels, put a plastic bag down. Go to the $2 shop and get those blueies that they use in hospitals. What happens? People are not consistent. So that's why I'm saying reward yourself. It is all about consistency. It's about really realizing that you just have to do it. I mean, the age isn't going to change it. You have to do it. You just have to get on and do toilet timing, not toilet training. Just don't wait till they're 7. Time's not going to change it. If they aren't out of nappies by 5, you've got to do something different. And I'd recommend you get Joe on my book. I think it's $29. It's $30. It's a pretty good investment to get your kids out of nappies, but also not having to clean nappies and carry around that big nappy bag, and the dignity. The big thing for me is dignity for the child, that being out of nappies is so important. As I say, really do not worry about the nighttime at this stage. Let's just get them out of nappies in the daytime and then look at the nighttime later on. But just start with the daytime. Best of luck. Make sure you download the tips on my blog. Make sure you listen. I've recorded a lot of podcasts on tips for toileting. I've also done a Facebook video that's really popular. There's lots of things you can do, but just remember the key is make sure they actually empty their bladder. Don't let them off until they've done something and you need to work out it, whether it's singing, blowing, flapping, whatever. Try everything to empty their bladder. So best of luck. I hope to get emails from lots of you telling me about your successes. I hope you've got some great tips and strategies to make a difference. Remember, strategies wear out and not every strategy works for everybody. If you're ready to dive in deeper to more strategies and ideas to make a difference, I'd highly recommend you consider Dr. Tony Attwood or my online courses. For more information, visit my website www.suelaki.com.au.